A while back, I took a part in a data warehouse migration project, moving a full Redshift workload into Snowflake. And let me tell you, it wasn't straightforward. I ran into broken logic, performance issues, and weird edge cases, especially around things like arrays and aggregate functions. But if I had to do it again today, it would be a whole different story. In this video, I will walk you through what that migration really looked like, the stuff I learned the hard way, and how tools like SnowConvert make things a lot easier today. When we started the migration, I thought it would be simple. Snowflake and Redshift both use SQL, so just move the data, right? Well, not entirely. Redshift and Snowflake have its own behaviors, and they don't always match. My favorite example is the default behavior of sorting nulls. In Redshift, null values are higher than any non-null values, which means that in a typical ascending order, they will come last. In Snowflake, it's the same, unless you change that default behavior. You could force returning nulls to come first in a given example. And this is what happened to me. Admin have changed that on an account level, and I wasn't aware of that. It is especially visible when you use window functions like array ag or row number. This sounds small, but it can completely change query results. We had a lot of dashboards using window functions with default null ordering. Given the same input data and transformation logic, there were differences between Redshift and Snowflake. So I'm not going to lie, it took me a while to figure out the root cause. Fortunately, it wasn't promoted to production yet, so we caught it in QA. That's why creating test cases for every single object is a must-have during migration. If you skip this step, you will be fixing bugs for months after going live. But this is only the tip of the iceberg. There is much more of it. So in order to do it right, we had to build Python scripts to scan for patterns and hand review basically everything. And since then, there were no reliable tools back then. It was painful and time-consuming. Today, this work would look like completely different. Snowflake has a tool now called SnowConvert, which did not exist when we did our migration. I used it recently and it is really promising. It scanned Redshift, SQL, and rewrote most of it to Snowflake syntax in minutes. Of course, you need to still test everything, but instead of rewriting 100% of your SQL by hand, now you're reviewing around 20% that actually needs your attention. Another thing that SnowConvert helps with is standardization. During migration, you often find old code that is inconsistent in style. SnowConvert can reformat and align naming conventions, making the new codebase cleaner from day one. That's something we didn't have, and it would have saved weeks. So here's what I would tell any data engineer doing this today. First of all, don't try to copy Redshift or any other database one-to-one. Snowflake works differently. You can use streams, tasks, zero-copy cloning, decouple storage with compute, and many others. Migrations are a great opportunity to rebuild the architecture. Next, let SnowConvert handle the most boring stuff. Use it as your first pass and then review the edge cases. It saves time and reduces errors. And watch out for different default behaviors, functions like array ag, timestamp cast, implicit joins, or even a simple order by can behave differently and not throw errors. Just give wrong data. You should also build automated validation checks early. Compare row counts, sums, and hashes between source and target before cutover. Snowflake's has #ag function is perfect for full table checks. And whenever you can, use ANSI SQL to avoid migration problems in the future. There is also a Redshift to Snowflake migration guide which sums up most of the edge cases and things you should watch out for. I don't think it existed a few years ago, but right now you definitely want to go through it before the migration. So to summarize, back then migrating from Redshift to Snowflake felt like rebuilding the plane mid-flight. Today it's way easier if you use the right tools and follow the right process. If you were ever engaged in any data warehouse migration, let us know your experience in the comments below. And check out our previous video on Snowflake to Snowflake migration. Thanks for watching and see you soon. Ciao!